In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. The title of this presentation is Sarcasm, a Weapon of Satan. Now, to understand this title and the content of this presentation, we need, the brothers and sisters, to understand two matters. Firstly, how does Satan affect each and every one of us? And secondly, what is the link between Satan and sarcasm and mockery? Now, the first matter is that how does Satan affect each and every one of us? The only book on the face of the earth which explains in details how does Satan affect each and every one of us is the last revelation of Allah, God, to people, the Quran. And in the Quran, Allah teaches us how does Satan affect us, the scientific mechanism for that. In chapter 114, verse 4, which reads, "From the evil of the whisperer who hides." So Allah is telling us here that each and every one of us, Satan whispers to us, meaning he talks to us like a person talking to you. But at the same time, he hides from you, meaning that he doesn't want you to feel his presence. So the question is, how can Satan talk to you but at the same time hide from you, that you don't feel his presence? The only way Satan can accomplish this is if he matches his voice with regards to tone, frequency, the languages you know, your style of speech, to the voice you hear in your head when you are thinking quietly to yourself. So it makes his voice identical to the one you hear in your head when you are thinking quietly. And thoughts pop up in your mind, and you think that yourself is telling you this, while actually it's your companion devil, is Satan. So how to prove this scientifically and practically? Again, in the Quran, Allah God Almighty gives us the way to prove this. How? In the Quran, Allah teaches us the symptoms of the effect of Satan on us. What kind of thoughts Satan whispers to us in our minds with a voice matching what we think with. So these symptoms, if we compare them to the practical world, what we experience in every day, we see a perfect match between these thoughts and the kind of thoughts that cause us mental pain and anguish. So what are these kind of symptoms? If we ponder upon verse number 169 of chapter 2 of the Quran, which reads, "He, i.e. Satan, commands you what is harmful, sinful, and to say about Allah, God, what you have no knowledge of." So we see here that Allah is telling us the kind of thoughts that Satan whispers us in our mind by a voice matching what we think with. Ideas of harm, to hurt yourself and others. Ideas of sinful acts and perverted sexual ideas. And to say about Allah what you have no knowledge of, meaning doubting the Quran, doubting the existence of God, blasphemy. So if we compare these symptoms or the kind of thoughts that Satan whispers to us with what people experience in their life, what kind of thoughts that cause them pain and despair. As you can see on the screen, the symptoms of mental disturbances is a person hearing ideas of harm, lust and filth and blasphemy, which are identical to the kind of thoughts that Allah tells us in the Quran that Satan whispers to us in our minds. So this is a physical proof to the truthfulness of the way Satan affects us as stated in the Quran. Because in real life we see this, that the kind of thoughts that everyone experiences, ideas of harm, lust and blasphemy. Now the difference between people and how they respond to these ideas. So many people, they believe them when they hear ideas in their mind, for example, telling them, look, this life is not worth it, why don't you go and kill yourself? He hears this kind of like conversation in his mind, but because he doesn't know the source of this voice, he thinks that he's so clever and he's thinking to him with this idea. So some people, many people, they agree with these thoughts. So he kills himself, he kills others, he commits adultery and blasphemy and all of this. Now the other group of people, they know that these are wrong ideas, but because they don't know the source of them, they have this kind of inner struggle, and they develop mental disturbances, and they go to doctors and what they call mental illnesses. There is actually no mental illness. It's just the whispers of Satan by a voice matching the one a person thinks with. So Having understood this, now coming to the title of this lecture, Sarcasm, a weapon of Satan. So what is the link between Satan and sarcasm and mockery? Allah teaches us the answer for this in the Quran in chapter 2 verse 14, which reads, "And when they meet those who believe, they say, 'We believe.' But when they are alone with their devils, they say, 'Truly, we are with you. Verily, we were but mocking.'" Here Allah tells us a characteristic of those who wage war against Allah and His messengers, that these people, they are hypocrites. When they see the believers, they say that we are with you, we are believers. But when they are alone, and Allah states here, but when they are alone with their devils, they say, "Truly we are with you, verily we were but mocking." How can I understand this? Now those who attack the revelations of Allah God Almighty to people, attack His messengers, when they are alone with their devils, meaning when they are alone. Now, truly, you are never alone, because when you are by yourself, you always have this companion devil, this Satan whispering to you. So when they're alone with their devils, now we understand this Quranic statement, that they are alone with their devils, meaning they are hearing these thoughts in their mind. They think that we are with you. They have this kind of inner conversation, but they think that they are talking to themselves. Actually, they're talking to their devils. And the person thinks that he's so smart to do these actions, but actually he's agreeing with what Satan is telling him. So now we understood the link. Satan, when you listen to a fact of the Quran or a sign of the Quran or a kind of an advice, Satan in your mind, your companion devil, he whispers to you to mock this, to be sarcastic. Look what he's telling me. Look at this. And this kind of thing he puts in your mind. Look what he's saying. Look at this person, and he's starting making a mockery of him, being sarcastic. Why? Because sarcasm, mockery, is a very powerful weapon to belittle any idea, and it's used throughout history. If a person, it's a very kind of powerful weapon to be when a person makes a mockery of another person or be sarcastic. It reduces the kind of the potency of any idea. So Satan teaches this to people. Whenever you hear, for example, a verse of the Quran or a teaching from Islam, Satan puts in your mind, look at this. He makes you sarcastic, because Satan knows it's a very powerful weapon. It belittles the potency or the importance of an idea. So I hope we understood this. Now, again in the Quran, this idea of sarcasm being a very powerful weapon is stated in chapter 43, verse 47, which reads, "But when he came to them with our signs, behold, they laughed at them." So when the messengers of Allah God Almighty they show people the signs of Allah, they laugh at these signs. Again, mockery and Satan, the link between mockery and being sarcastic and Satan. Another verse in the Quran, which is verse number 29 of chapter 83, it reads, "Verily, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed." Again, mockery being a very powerful weapon to belittle an idea. So the question now, why does Satan train you to be sarcastic? And we see this, brothers and sisters, in all ages, and in youth and in children, always being sarcastic. And nowadays we see it so often. You see so many people, they are sarcastic about everything. Any big idea they hear, any kind of good teaching they hear, they're always sarcastic, always making fun. So again, we understood today that the source of this is Satan. He puts these kind of sarcastic ideas in your mind, and because the voice is identical, you think that yourself is telling you this, and you just repeat the words. Now why? Why does Satan do this? Now if we think about the human brain and the soul, it's very programmable. Your brain and your kind of soul, it can be programmed. So when Satan starts making you sarcastic at a very young age, telling jokes all the time, being sarcastic, making pranks, Satan trains you with this, with the thought matching what you think with, giving you all kind of thoughts about pranks, about mocking other people. He trains you to do this. Why? Because if you are sarcastic about the little things in life, when you are grown up and you're mature and you hear big ideas like Islam and the Quran and the resurrection and the beauty of the message of Allah, it's easier for Satan to make you sarcastic about these things because you are always trained to be sarcastic. So when you grow up, it's very easy for Satan to make you again mock the Quran and the revelations of Allah and the guidance of Allah to people. So in effect, he lowers your immunity. He makes you weak, and then so he can make you sarcastic about virtually anything. So that's the reason Satan starts at a very young age training a person to be sarcastic, to make him belittle any idea that will benefit him in his life and the hereafter. So please, brothers and sisters, if anybody has this kind of characteristic of being sarcastic all the time, you have to be very, very careful, because what you are actually doing, when you are faced with any kind of big matter or big idea in life, you hear ideas in your mind, mocking, laughing, and this kind of thing. So this is from Satan. He trains you to do this, so that you will not see any guidance, and to belittle any kind of teaching or guidance of Allah to you. Now, what's the cure for this? Again, Allah teaches us the cure for all of this in the Quran, in chapter 2, verse 168, which reads, O people, eat of that which is lawful and good on the earth, and do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Verily, he is to you an open enemy. So here Allah God Almighty gives us the cure. Do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Meaning, after you understood this guidance and how Satan affects you by a voice match the one you think with, do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Meaning, do not agree with what he's telling you. When an idea comes to your mind, do not agree with it. When you hear teaching from the Quran or a sign of the Quran, do not, and Satan starts putting in your mind, look at this, look at that, look at that person. Do not agree with this idea, nor carry it out. Allah, God, will not judge you for hearing these ideas, but He will judge you whether you agree with them and carry them out or not. So please, brothers and sisters, we must be aware of this. And if you train yourself to struggle against Satan and what he's whispering to you, and do not follow what he's telling you, day after day, you'll become stronger, you become more wise, and you will see the true revelation and the true religion of Allah, God, Islam, more and more. And you will come closer to Allah, and you will do things in your life that will benefit you in this life and the hereafter. But being sarcastic, you just waste your life. Maybe a very kind of life-saving teaching reaches you, but because you are sarcastic all the time, you just miss it. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@gmail.com. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.